appreciate, because that is what I was wanting from you, because you are strong, right? But
Thank
it's
you.
like you're a beautiful, delicate flower at the same time. And I think I wanted to get to that beautiful, delicate flower, and you just shared something which was so powerful, which is you are constantly having to be strong for everyone else.
Yes.
And I think that is something that I can see, right? 'Cause especially if you're firstborn, you gotta do some. You just gotta get on with it. You haven't got a choice. You are
Yeah.
experiencing the world for the first time in everything.
Hmm.
And so you said something really key, and I don't know if you want to share a bit about that,
Oh, I
but
don't
you said
mind.
obviously you
I
said
think there's
about,
power in testimony.
yeah,
Yeah.
you said about obviously having to almost be strong, and people telling you to just kind of not suck it up, but almost kind of like you said about your grandfather, I think you were
Hmm.
saying, and then having to be strong in
Hmm.
that moment. I wanted to know a bit more about that, what that was like for you. You know what I mean?
Oh, so when my grandfather passed away, I was 15 years old.
Mm.
Um,
Sorry to hear that.
Prior to him, sorry, the machine, because I'm in the office,
You're good.
but what was I going to say? Prior to him passing away, when I was in the eighth grade, that's when I was told he had leukemia. Well, thanks to reading books,
Um,
when I was in fifth grade, I read a fictional story about a little girl who had a sister who eventually passed away from leukemia. So I understood what leukemia was and
mm,
what it looked like because of that book. So when I look back, I feel like God kind of like prepared me a little bit. Um, so when my grandfather was dying, oh my gosh, a year up into it, he went from being the person that used to always want to do everything for me. Now I used to be like, Granddaddy, I can do it. Like, I can do it, Granddaddy. Like he would even want me to walk home from school. And I'm like, Granddaddy, I can walk home from school. Like one of my punishments literally used to be I could not walk home from school.
because you loved it so much.
Yeah, but yeah, so it got to a point where my grandfather was the person, who used to do a lot of stuff for me. And now the tables had turned and I'm
Mm,
now doing for him, cooking for him, putting Noxemo on his skin. And he was already a thin man to begin with, but he was going through, when he was going through everything, he started to look like a skeleton. So that was kind of like hard for me to go through, just to witness that, but still be strong for him. Then at nighttime, I'd be in my room and I could hear him in the other bedroom, screaming out like, I see the angels, Lloyd, I see the angels. And I used to just cry. I used to cry. And that was like the onset of my depression. Um,
mm,
just seeing him, you know, just kind of just wilt away.
yeah.
And I'll never forget when we took him to the hospital for the last time. He got into the car, my mom's car, which when I was in college later became my car. Um, and I helped him into the back seat and he looked at me. He held my hand and he looked me in the eyes and he said, I'm not going to be here next week. That was on a Friday. That following Friday is when he had a brain aneurysm. Well, actually, no, he died on that Friday, but 2 days prior, on October 3rd, he had a brain aneurysm. And on October 5th is when he passed away, and I felt his last heartbeat. So that was like his death really affected me because he
Mm,
was like a father figure,
yeah.
Um, my grandfather had always been in my life. I still carry his license in my wallet, because I was definitely granddaddy's, little girl.
There we go.
And
Hmm.
yeah, it was always me and my granddaddy, me and my granddaddy. Even when I used to like get on his nerves, it's just me and my granddaddy. And but yeah, that really affected me, and I entered into a depression when I was young. And when he died, everybody was like, be strong for your grandma, be strong for your
Mm,
mom. And nobody was like, hey, let's be strong for Nika. Like, she was with him the
Yeah. Yeah.
most.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I had to kind of navigate that pain, and
Mm,
I was in a dark hole for like 4 years. It was bad, but nobody knew.
mm,
Nobody knew, and so from that, I learned how to just press into God, and it made me feel like I couldn't go to anyone, because when I was going through it and if I tried to call one of my friends, they would always make it about them,
mm-hmm.
so go to family, you got to be strong. And so it's just kind of like, me always having like a strong personality since I was a little girl. I've always been very mature for my age. Always played with older kids because, like I said, I never
Yep.
really saw myself as a kid. So it's like, and I used to be a little bossy something. I used to be very bossy as a kid. Oh my gosh. But yeah, it taught me some lessons, and
Mhm.
some very valuable lessons. And so going to therapy has been kind of like my outlet.
Yeah.
And I learned, since I felt like I lost myself in that season when I was a teenager,
Mm,
that I never want to go back into that place again. And
yeah.
unfortunately, that kind of happened after the last time I was raped.
Oh my God. I'm so sorry.
I mean, I can speak about it because, that's where the healing comes from, you know? So, like I said, I don't mind sharing my stories because there is power in testimony. So when you say things like, oh, it just comes off as rainbows and all that other stuff, it's definitely not my intention. So to come off that way, which is why I do say, like, hey, I overcome things, but I don't dwell in the pain,
Mm,
kind of thing. I confront it, I try to heal from it, pluck it at the root, and try to show other people that there's light at the end of the tunnel, because I know what it's like to be in darkness. And I know what it's like to feel like you're isolated on this island, even though you have people around you who love you. But sometimes people are in, their own feelings that they're unable to see what someone else is going
hmm
through. And it's, no one else's fault. But I'm very big on mental health. Very big on mental health. So that's why I feel like it's so important for people to go to therapy. Even nothing has to be wrong with you.
hmm
So sometimes therapy gives you the tools to navigate things that you probably didn't know how to properly navigate, and that
hmm
I'm grateful for.
Yeah. I appreciate you sharing that. Thank you. For giving us that perspective of yourself as well. And again, my condolences
Oh,
for you
thank
in that
you.
situation as well. Yeah, because I know it's not an easy thing for you. And you said obviously, navigating that as well. I guess obviously tying that into, I guess, relationships, did that affect how you then dealt with relationships with the opposite sex later on in life as well?
To be honest with you, because I have such a great experience with like the men in my family, because remember I said it wasn't just, you know, my grandparents, like I had my uncles that helped raise me, my grandfathers. I have great examples of men, like loving, kind